This video is the first in a series of videos that's going to try to explain the profitability financial measures. Now, we've been through measures of liquidity, we've been through measures of solvency, and we've been through measures of financial efficiency. The last set of financial measures that are used to measure the financial health of a farm business are referred to as profitability measures. The profitability measures are going to be of three different ratios. We're going to have something, actually it's four, I apologize. We're going to have something called return on assets, something called return on equity, something called cost of debt, and then something called operating profit margin. Before we can actually get into those ratios, we need to kind of change your way of thinking about farm profit. So listen carefully to the following video, and if you have any questions, please email me. If you'll look at the income statement for J&J Farms, so if you don't have that open, just pause the video and open the financial statements, the Excel spreadsheet, and look at the income statement. On the income statement for 2014, the farm revenue was $761,289. The total farm expenses were $559,252, and it gave you a net farm income from operations, in other words, when you took revenue minus expenses, of $202,037. If this farm business was owned by an operator who provided the labor, or at least a large portion of the labor and the management, one of the differences between a farm income statement and a corporate income statement for when you had an incorporated business is that you have unpaid family labor. In other words, if the owner operator owned this business, he doesn't write himself a check for monthly salary. Now, if it was an incorporated business, that's a completely different topic, because then there would be a salary for the owner operator. But if it's just a sole proprietorship, there's no labor over here under expenses for the owner, the operator. Where it says hired labor, that's when he went and hired someone else. So really, when you get this farm income from operations down here, this 202,000, it's actually paying the owner for the fact that he's got money invested and for the fact that he put labor out there. So what happens is there needs to be an adjustment for that unpaid labor. Now, there's several different schools of thought on how you charge for that unpaid labor. One is you simply take out family living expenses. I don't particularly like that alternative, simply because living expenses could vary from year to year. Another alternative is to simply determine or estimate the opportunity cost of that labor. In other words, what could it earn in some other job, and use that as a charge. But if you take, let me illustrate this. Let's say you take the net farm income from the farm business, okay, and it's 202,037. Now remember, that is a return to the capital investment and to the unpaid labor. So that 202,000 profit is a reward to the owner for the fact that he's got money invested in assets, and that he's got providing some of the labor, which is not actually paid for in the operating expenses. Well, if you estimated the opportunity cost of that unpaid family labor at 50,000, then what you could do is come up here and subtract that 50,000. Okay, this is that opportunity cost, this number right here. And when you made that subtraction, you get $152,037. Now we've got an estimation of the farm profit with an allocation for unpaid family labor. Now remember, that's not an actual cash payment. It's just representing what that labor would be worth somewhere else. So now the 152,000 is and 152,037 is now a return to the investment by the farm manager, because we have taken part of the profit, the net farm income from operations, and allocated a portion of that to the unpaid labor and management. Okay, So that's the first thing. Remember, when you're dealing with a sole proprietorship, the labor and management of the owner is not a unique itemized charge where you pay an expense. In other words, when you get the profit at the end, it's actually rewarding that manager and owner for their investment in the assets and for the fact that they provided labor and management. Okay, now remember this concept as we move to the next video where we begin to try to set up the amount of net farm income that we can use to determine the rate of returns on the assets.